I want to ask you, has a calm returned to the capital?
Well, we don't have the constant gunfire that was occurring on Monday, and even the sporadic gunfire in the following days has mostly died down, but that doesn't mean it's calm. People really are remaining off the streets. There's heavy military deployment, and people are still quite fearful of the government here.
Okay, people are fearful, but we do have protesters who say that they're defiant, so they're not back out on the streets?
People are saying they're defiant, but their actions reveal something different. So I think in their hearts, when they speak to people, when they speak to me, people say that they are going to continue pressing forward. They're going to continue protesting for an end to military rule. But the fact is, the last few days have been the first days in months where there have not been people protesting on the streets. So we'll have to see in the coming days whether people will have the courage to go back out in the streets in the face of this overwhelming deadly force from the military.
Jason, the international community has reacted in the aftermath of Monday's crackdown. We have today the African Union suspending Sudan. Has that changed the dynamics on the ground?
Well, that will take some time to see. The international community has been very slow to act on the situation in Sudan, really waiting until after all of these deaths to step in and try to push for a solution. The most important international actors in Sudan remain the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt, who have been strongly supporting the military junta. So whether the AU's statements will lead to a change or whether Western nations will at last start, really stepping up to the plate, we'll see. But for now, it's the Gulf that is the main international actor.
Jason, the protesters and members of the military council could not agree on the composition of this governing body leading the country going forward. Who, 50, whether it would be 50-50. Is it safe to say now that that civilian protest leaders don't want the military involved at all?
Well, I think the protesters do not want the military, have for a long time not wanted the military involved at all, or maybe just involved in a very small amount. But the negotiators who have been representing the protesters seem to have been a bit more conservative and have tried to push a bit towards the middle and concede positions to the military. Now all bets are off. Now, after this massacre, the government is basically pushing forward, or the military government is basically pushing forward on its own terms, and the protesters and their leaders are going to have to reorganize and rethink their strategy as to what they want. I think the disconnect between the protesters on the ground and the civilian negotiators in the negotiating room, I think that disconnect is something that has not been talked about enough and has not been and is increasing day by day as people die and as the military strengthens its grip on the country.
Jason Patinkin, thank you very much for that update from Khartoum.